Hello and welcome to the next in the series of Döhle Yachts Coffee Breaks. My name is Joe Assel, I'm the Technical Director at Döhle Yachts, and today I'm lucky enough to be joined by Dave Gooberman, the Principal Surveyor at the Isle of Man Shipping Registry. Dave, welcome.
Joe, good to see you again.
Thank you. Today we are hoping to carry on our conversation about the Red Ensign Group's Corrigenda number 2 to their Red Ensign Group Yacht Code. So, Dave, I think we'll dive straight in if that's all right with you. What we're interested in on today's conversation is more to do with the in-service vessels. So could you give me an idea of some of the elements of Corrigenda number 2 to the code that we need to be aware of for in-service vessels?
Okay, thanks, Joe. Yes, well, good day, everybody. So talking about Corrigenda number 2, there's a lot of stuff to get through. If you're an existing vessel, you probably read it and go, oh my word, a lot of stuff in there. But most of it is tweaks and clarifications where the industry have asked for something to be made a little bit more clearer to everybody. So no great panic on some of them. But for the existing vessels, there are a few things which is worth pointing out. I'll take the highlighted points from those. And if we start at 1.6 is retrospective requirements for gangways, passerelles, and yachts have passerelles, yachts are gangways. That's how you get on and off. The new ones have to be built to certain standards. We know that. But for some of the existing vessels where there is no international standards, and we've now applied this to all the existing vessels. So if you are on a yacht and your gangway is not built to international standard, don't panic. But we will expect it to be tested and certificated accordingly, because we don't want you or your guests falling into the water.
Absolutely not.
So that's a retrospective point. So that's something you can easily do is the next dry dock, next refit. But something operationally you should be thinking about. Operationally as well, testing watertight doors. Okay, this is mainly going to apply to the larger yachts, but we're now expecting to see weekly operational tests. It's good practice. Should be in your safety management system. If you've got a mini safety management system, it should be in there. Just a weekly operational test to make sure they're working. Radio section number 16 is worth pointing out. No great changes there at all in section 16, but we have cleared up a little bit. So when we rewrote LY3 to become the REG Yacht Code, as Joe will be aware, a lot went on. And we tried to clarify section 16 by getting the grammar exactly right. Unfortunately, in doing that, it seemed to confuse people more. So we've taken a step back, looked at it again, and made it a lot clearer. So just be aware of section 16, especially with the availability of equipment. Another reason for that was port state control. In some European ports, we're getting a little bit confused with what we were saying, because it is an equivalent to GMDSS. It is not GMDSS, and so the clarity there is something you should really be aware of, to be honest. Operationally as well, we need to look at navigational procedures. Now, all these I'm going to mention in a minute were all applicable to yachts, always has been, but it fell out the code. It came in through a different route where SOLAS says this applies to all vessels. Therefore, they apply for commercial yachts, but now we put it explicitly in the code. So operationally, you need to think about the records, navigational equipment. The records of navigational activities. Basically, the bridge watch book. Record all your navigational movements in case there's an accident in the future. You need to look back. You've got a record of actually what happened and what you did. Table of life-saving signals to be carried. This is a small orange table you would probably got on board anyway, but it clarifies this is what you should be carrying, and this basically tells you what distress signals you should be using and how to communicate with search and rescue aircraft or rescue stations. It also reminds you of the obligation, this is straight out of SOLAS again, an obligation to report dangers. So it's just dangerous ice or tropical revolving storms. That responsibility that does apply to everybody. Also reminds you of distress at sea obligations, what you do if you hear a distress signal, what your obligation is as a vessel at sea. How to avoid, about safe navigation, avoidance of dangerous situations, and the misuse of distress signals. Basically, don't use them as fireworks. We know that anyway. It was always in SOLAS and always applied to yachts, but now we've got it actually within the code, so there is no excuse now, basically.
Excellent.
There is one. I can mention one more. Actually, I'm thinking about it. If we go, have we done the operational ones? Also, one to think about is man riding labels on cranes. So if you're going to rescue boat crane. Has it been certified for man riding? If it hasn't, the existing vessels now have to have it certified for man riding. Or if it's not, what you basically do is stick a big label on it to say not certified for man riding, which means if you launch a rescue boat over the side, you can't have anybody in it. So again, that's something you'll think about at the next refit if you want to retrospectively apply that to your vessel. There we go. Those are the I would say those were the highlights from the Corrigenda. Okay. There's lots more in there as well, but you basically read through it. It's freely available on the websites. But yes, that's what I think are the important ones.
That's great, and that's really useful, Dave. Thank you very much for that. I think it emphasises what a kind of broad range of topics are covered by this Corrigenda, and not just for the physical aspects, but these operational ones that you've now highlighted. Yeah. When in-service vessels are going through it and looking at this Corrigenda and seeing what they need to do, how and when are these brought into force, and when do they need to make sure that they are up to date by?
Okay, for new vessels, that's easy. That's the 1st of June 2021 for the keel laying date after that. For existing vessels, it's basically going to be on the first annual survey after this comes into force. So sooner rather than later, to be honest, really. If you go through the Corrigenda items, some are quite specific to say it's first annual, some are not. But the first annual after the 1st of June 2020 would be the reasonable time to bring it into force.
That's great. So that's going to allow people to bed into this season, find out what they need to do, and hopefully then make the changes applicable. And next time they have flag on board or class on their behalf, they'll be checking to make sure that these items have all been done.
Absolutely, and it's all about giving everybody a suitable time frame to get this into place. We know some of the changes are bigger than others, and we never bring things overnight. We have consulted on this, so we do give a time frame a pragmatic time frame in there to get these items done. There's nothing among the things I mentioned is rocket science. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great to hear that that you've taken kind of on board some of the comments from the industry and found a way to bring those in without it being overly burdensome. Which kind of brings me on to my next question about how that process will work moving forward. So now that the Red Ensign Group have issued Corrigenda number 2, how can vessels or management companies or those within the industry continue to feed back kind of lessons learned from either these changes or more generally the code? If you could just give us a brief explanation of how that process works.
Yeah, great question, Joe. And what we do, we involve as many people as we can, every stakeholder we can think of. So if we go back to LY3 moving into REG Yacht Code, we engaged almost all of the industry we could think of. Shipbuilders, yacht builders, class societies, industry representatives such as Cybas. There is quite a long list there, which we actually listed in LY3. So what we will generally do is have, well, I say we, the Secretariat of the REG Yacht Code is currently the Cayman Islands. So they will facilitate working groups. We're available at Monaco, industry groups such as Super Yacht Forum. And what we aim to do is have lots of discussions, lots of forums, online, offline, where everybody can voice their opinion in due time, and we can take it into account. So we even though having discussed all those with the Corrigenda this time, we put it out once we discussed it internally, put it out again, and I think we give about 3 months lead-in time. Then we discussed it with the Red Ensign Group again, and all these are taken into account. So, but not only that, you can also go to your flag state direct. So if you come to the Isle of Man Ship Registry myself, you go to the Caymans, or you go to Adam at the MCA, any of them, you can ask them the question. And we've got a very good working relationship between each other now. So what happens is, if I come across something and go, that's a bit interesting, I've not seen that before, we'll have a round robin email. We'll ask the question to somebody, have you seen one of these on board a yacht? And we'll go, oh, okay, we haven't, we'll accept it, we won't accept it. And that'll get rolled up in the next Corrigenda item. So we don't suddenly go, right, we decided that's what we're going to go and do. We'll go out to consultation again, and the next Corrigenda item would then pick it up. I say the next Corrigenda item, I mean, there might not be one for a while. Bearing in mind the next reiteration of the code is due to be 2024, which is the step with the SOLAS amendments. So we're 2021 now. If nothing exciting comes, we'll wait to 2024. But equally, if ship owners, yacht owners, well, ship owners as well, should they wish, yards, builders, designers come up with something we think needs promulgated, we will again go out to discussion with all the industry, and we would put that into a Corrigenda item and bring it into force if we thought acceptable. But it's a partnership between everybody, and that's the important thing. So hopefully, given the idea, there's actually quite a lot of ways you can actually feedback to us. We won't always say yes, but you can always give it a go.
Yeah, I mean, that's really encouraging to
There we
hear.
go.
Yeah, thank you. It's really encouraging to hear that you're taking such a proactive kind of engagement process, because obviously the industry is changing really quickly, but it's also encouraging to hear that you are in discussions with the other flags so that you can't go flag shopping and start to try and leverage, oh, but we've been allowed this on another flag, because it's very easy to get a race to the bottom there, and to maintain, I guess, the quality is an important aspect for the Renaissance Group Yacht Code.
I think you're right, Joe. That's a really good point, actually, the quality here. So maybe said 10 years ago, there was a bit of disparity between the Renaissance Group. We brought it together now. We're much more collegiate than ever were before. In the last seminar, Julian was talking about various other flags that got their own yacht codes, and we like to keep ourselves as we created the Renaissance Group, the Yacht Code, 20 odd years ago, and we like to think we're the gold standard still. And so all this, there is some pretenders out there. Which is great. Flattery is wonderful. Imitation, as they say. We do maintain our high standards, and we keep it. And that's the gold standard. If you want a yacht, you want a commercial yacht, you want to build it to the REG Yacht Code, and then you've got people that have got the history behind them. We've got the experience, so we do know what we're talking about. And we're all, at the same time, we're very pragmatic as well, because we understand the yachting industry is changing very quick, and what suddenly an owner, a builder, designer comes up with, we wouldn't have seen before, and they want it like tomorrow. So we will do the best we can safely.
I mean, I think that sums it up. That's fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us for the latest Döhle Yachts Coffee Breaks. I think I'm going to extend David's invitation that if you have any questions, contact your flag, contact us. This is a kind of an open living document, and we're all engaged in making sure it's the best possible document to regulate our industry collectively. So David, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Joe. Always a pleasure.
Cheers.